little bit about what you've done. Very few business people would actually cut back on opportunities to make money and take a position of the kind that you've taken. What made you do it?
Well, firstly, thank you, Barkha, for having me on your show. Now, Barkha, as we all know, and you have narrated it beautifully, that the remarks which came from the Maldivian government's representatives were completely unprovoked. They came out of nowhere, and at some level, it felt like it's a proxy war between India and China. As we know, that the current government is actually very pro-China and is very close to the Chinese government. I think they lapped on the opportunity to diss on Indian tourism industry. And mind you, this time they talked about Indian tourism industry, saying that India is incapable of making places like Maldives, Indian places smell, which was basically in relationship to our industry. There have been cases where India has had diplomatic tussles with other countries like Canada. We did not take any action on them because they were not related to tourism. But this one was directly from our business line. And being the second largest travel portal in India, we owed it to the country that we upheld the dignity of the country by taking some action. See, if the government's ministers do not care about the kind of money which India provides to them via tourism, then why should we as a country, or at least why should we at EaseMyTrip care about providing that kind of monies to them? As you rightly said, 28% of their GDP is dependent on India, and India is on tourism, and India is the largest provider of that. And at EaseMyTrip being the second largest, we command about 20 to 25% of market share of all the tickets which are booked online. So directly or indirectly, we are actually adding single-digit value to Maldives GDP. And especially when a country is regrettably not caring about their own GDP and their own value which they get from India, we thought that our money is better spent in other places. It could be within India, it could be other places. We're not here to tell people where to go and where not to go, but at least from our side, we thought that we owed it to the country's dignity that we take a stance on it.
But Mr. Pitti, as you mentioned, this is a proxy war with China's fingerprints all over it. And in fact, it's interesting that the Maldives president, who actually ran for office on an anti-India campaign, has now urged China to compensate for this downfall in tourism. But the Maldivian people are not necessarily the same as the government of Maldives. And you would have seen that the Maldives sort of tour operators, travel and tour operators organization in particular wrote EaseMyTrip a letter pleading with you to change your mind, calling Indians their brothers and sisters, and saying that the comments made by the government do not reflect the sentiments of the people of Maldives. When you saw their statement, did you feel like, maybe we need to have a policy that makes us stand very clear as Indians to the government that these remarks are unacceptable, but does not punish small businesses, your own colleagues in Maldives?
See, Barkha, we never had a problem with tourism body to begin with in the first place, neither with the Maldivian people. We never had a trouble with them. We never had a problem. We had a very good working relationship with them. But then, it's a diplomacy where there are two governments dealing with each other, and in a proxy war, not all wars are fought in a battlefield. A lot of wars are fought outside the battlefield, and as a country soldier who actually own that particular, we being the second largest tourism provider to Maldives from India, we thought that at least we can begin a trend where if there is anything related to tourism, we can take a stand for the country, and maybe others will also follow the suit. We haven't seen other travel portals do the same thing as what we have done, but I would continue to urge them to consider boycotting Maldives, because our money can be spent better places. There have been thousands of crores goes to Maldives from India in the name of tourism. Now imagine if that money goes to places like Lakshadweep, Andaman, Goa, or Kerala, where we have pristine, beautiful beaches. I'm thankful to our Honorable Prime Minister for putting a spotlight on Lakshadweep, which has been a sleeping giant. And I believe that at some level, Maldivian government also knew, since there's a proximity between Maldives and Lakshadweep, they probably also knew that Lakshadweep could be a sleeping giant. And as our PM has, shared those images, shared those beautiful images and videos with his millions and millions of followers, I believe that it has rattled them to think that maybe Lakshadweep can become as big as a tourist spot as Maldives is, and because of which they have taken actions which has basically shot themselves in their foot. And with the proxy they share with China, it's better that they earn that money from China. Why should they earn money from India, especially when they are condemning our people, our prime minister, our country, and various other things?
Now, of course, you're right in mentioning sort of the millions that Maldives economy actually draws from tourism, and India is the largest, or was the largest tourist market for Maldives. But I want to, and you make a very important point about how modern warfare is not in the battlefield. This is clearly India's soft power on display, whether it is the position taken by companies like yourself or film stars. Some of India's biggest film stars, sporting personalities have taken similar positions, who have often in the past holidayed in the Maldives. Now, let me ask you, you mentioned other portals. Are you surprised that the other portals have not taken the position that you have? What do you make of that?
At some level, yes. We were hoping that there would be other portals which would follow the procedure which we have taken. At some level, we are surprised, but again, it's never too late. I'm using your channel. I'm still requesting them to consider standing with India first. Profits can be preceded later.
Why do you think they have not taken the position you have?
That would be beyond me at the moment.
Is your reference to EaseMyTrip?
I'm talking about the entire industry, not in general to one particular company.
Now, you took out very dramatic front page advertisements. India woke up to these advertisements in all the major newspapers today. Here they are. Obviously, at some level, you have taken this very strong position, but you must have an end game in mind. What I mean by that is, diplomacy is an evolving thing, right? India and the government of India will have its own plans on how to handle this situation. Where for you, or how does this end for you? Is this a permanent position? No bookings to Maldives? Is this a position dependent on the president of Maldives saying sorry? Will you take your cue on this from the government of India? What are you thinking?
Barkha, not necessarily we have thought through what would be the end position over here. We have taken a call that we would stand by with the India, and it's an indefinite suspension to all the bookings to Maldives at the moment for EaseMyTrip. Anything beyond this at this moment for me to say would be slightly ahead of its time. We will see how the things unfold. But at this moment, we are at status quo where you cannot book any hotel, holidays, flights from our portal to Maldives at the moment.
Now, they say that doing the right thing can sometimes also be good for business. Sometimes it can be bad for business, but sometimes it can be good for business. Which one has it been for you? Once again, I can't hear you. Let's unmute you. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
At this moment, that is not our biggest worry. Our biggest worry at this moment is that people perceive us in the right way. Whether business comes or not is a secondary thing. At this moment, we want to be telling people our story, that we are not doing mere lip service. We are actually letting go of a good sizable chunk of business on the table. So it's not like some wannabe celebrity saying that, hey, I will not go to my birthday on Maldives anymore. We are letting go of some business to take the stance. And if required in the future, be it, we would always stand by the country. Over here, we believe that our stance is nothing political. Our stance is purely nationalistic at the moment.